What if one of the wildest rumors in the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills just came roaring back? For years, fans have speculated about Dorit Kemsley and Mauricio Umansky, especially after Dorit and Mauricio's respective marriages began falling apart. But now, an even more explosive claim is circulating online. That Dorit was allegedly pregnant with Mauricio's baby while still married to PK. And supposedly, there's audio that could expose everything. But before this turns into another viral bombshell, there's something important to understand. There is no credible evidence in the sources I found confirming that Dorit was pregnant with Mauricio's child, and I found no reliable reporting establishing the existence of authentic leaked audio proving such a relationship. In fact, when the Mauricio-Dorit romance rumors previously exploded, Dorit herself publicly dismissed them as beyond ridiculous, while Mauricio also denied that anything romantic had happened between them. So why does this rumor keep coming back? Because the timing has become incredibly messy. Dorit and PK separated in 2024 and later moved toward divorce, while Kyle Richards and Mauricio had already separated in 2023. Then fans started noticing the friendships and connections between the two couples, and suddenly every interaction became suspicious. A hug became evidence. A conversation became proof. A friendship became a supposed secret romance. And now the internet has taken that old rumor and added the most explosive allegation imaginable. A pregnancy. But is there actually anything behind it? Or is this another example of reality TV speculation spiraling completely out of control? Tonight, we are breaking down the timeline, the Mauricio-Dorit rumors, Dorit's own response, the alleged audio claim, and why fans still can't seem to let this story go. Because if that supposed audio ever turns out to be authentic, it would change the conversation completely. But until there's verifiable evidence, the pregnancy and leaked audio claims remain unconfirmed. Before the pregnancy allegation, before the supposed leaked audio, there was already one major rumor surrounding Dorit Kemsley and Mauricio Umansky. And this rumor didn't begin recently. It exploded online back in 2022, when former RHOBH personality Dana Wilkes shared a post suggesting that Dorit and Mauricio were having an affair. Dorit didn't laugh it off. She responded angrily, calling the claim a disgusting lie, and saying Mauricio and Kyle were close family friends whose children considered them uncle and auntie. That reaction immediately became part of the story. Because whenever a celebrity strongly denies a rumor, the internet often does the exact opposite of what you might expect. Instead of disappearing, the rumor gets bigger. People started analyzing every interaction between Dorit and Mauricio. Every hug. Every conversation. Every group photo. Every time they appeared at the same event. And suddenly a normal friendship between two couples was being interpreted through a completely different lens. Dorit repeatedly rejected the idea. Mauricio rejected it too. In 2024, Mauricio addressed the speculation directly on Bravo's Hot MIC podcast, describing the idea that he and Dorit had a thing as completely untrue and absurd. Dorit had also previously called the rumor ridiculous, explaining that Mauricio, PK, Kyle, and she had been friends together, and that the allegations were upsetting because they involved people close to their families. So where did the pregnancy claim come from? That's where things get much less clear. The material behind the viral headline claims that an audio recording supposedly reveals something explosive about Dorit and Mauricio. But there is no verified leaked audio establishing that Dorit became pregnant with Mauricio's child. That is a critical distinction. The affair rumor is documented as an old piece of online speculation. The denials are documented. But the pregnancy allegation and supposed audio remain unverified. And that means we shouldn't present them as facts. Still, the timing makes the rumor especially clickable. Because both Dorit's and Mauricio's marriages eventually went through major changes. Kyle and Mauricio separated in 2023 after many years together. Dorit and PK announced their separation in 2024. And suddenly, fans began revisiting every old rumor involving the four of them. The internet started asking, was there something we missed? That's how old gossip gets revived. A rumor that was dismissed years ago suddenly appears relevant because the people involved are no longer in the same relationships. And that's exactly what happened here. But there's another twist. In 2025, Dorit was actually seen meeting Mauricio, and that footage became part of RHOBH Season 15. That sounds explosive until you learn the context. Dorit later explained that the meeting wasn't some secret romantic encounter. According to her account, Kyle herself had recommended that Dorit speak with Mauricio, believing he might help Dorit and PK navigate their difficult divorce. Kyle independently backed up that explanation. So what looked suspicious in a trailer apparently had a very different explanation behind it. And that matters because it demonstrates how easily reality TV footage can be turned into a completely different narrative. A short clip can make something look secretive. The full context can make it ordinary. That's why the alleged audio needs the same level of scrutiny. If an authentic recording exists, viewers should ask, who recorded it? When was it recorded? Has the audio been independently authenticated? Is the voice actually Dorit's? Is Mauricio mentioned? What exactly is being said? And most importantly, where is the original recording? Without answers to those questions, the leaked audio remains a claim. And there's an even bigger problem with the pregnancy allegation. A pregnancy involving another person's husband would normally leave an enormous amount of evidence. Medical records, public timelines, family statements, birth records, or some other independently verifiable information. None of that has been established here. So right now, the viral headline is doing something very clever. It's taking an old, repeatedly denied affair rumor and combining it with an unverified pregnancy claim and a supposedly leaked recording. That combination creates a story that sounds explosive. But sounding explosive isn't the same as being true. And the documented timeline actually gives us something much more interesting. The four people involved were genuinely close. Dorit and PK were friends with Kyle and Mauricio. Their children knew each other. They spent time together. And their friendships were visible publicly. That closeness may have been exactly why the original rumor became so believable to some viewers. People saw chemistry, where the individuals involved said there was friendship. Then, when the marriages began changing, the old rumor suddenly looked different. But perception isn't proof. And that's the line we need to keep throughout this story. Because if an authentic recording ever emerges, the conversation could change. But until then, there is no verified evidence establishing that Dorit was pregnant with Mauricio's child. And there's certainly no confirmed evidence that such a pregnancy occurred while Dorit was married to PK. The rumor may be shocking. The headline may be viral. But the documented record tells us something else. Dorit and Mauricio have both publicly denied having a romantic relationship. And that makes the next question even more important. Why does this rumor keep coming back every time Dorit, Mauricio, Kyle, or PK enter a new chapter of their lives? Because that's where the story gets even messier. The strangest part of this entire story is that the Mauricio-Dorit rumor has been denied repeatedly, yet somehow it keeps coming back. And now, years after the original speculation exploded, the internet is attaching an even more dramatic claim to it. A supposed pregnancy and leaked audio. But here's the reality check. I couldn't find credible reporting confirming that Dorit was pregnant with Mauricio's baby, or that authentic leaked audio proves such a relationship. The documented record instead shows both Dorit and Mauricio denying the romance rumors. So why does the rumor keep surviving? One reason is simple. Dorit and Mauricio really were close. Dorit, PK, Kyle, and Mauricio spent years in the same social circle. That friendship was public, and fans saw them together frequently. Then something happened that gave the rumor a new opening. Dorit and PK's marriage began falling apart. Kyle and Mauricio's marriage also entered a separation period. Suddenly, two couples who had once been connected socially were no longer living the same lives. And that's when fans started looking backward. Old photographs suddenly looked different. Old interactions suddenly looked suspicious. A friendly hug became chemistry. A dinner became a secret date. An ordinary friendship suddenly became evidence in the eyes of online commentators. But there was a major problem with that theory. The people actually involved kept denying it. Dorit publicly called the speculation ridiculous and said it was particularly upsetting because the four of them had been friends together. Mauricio later addressed the rumors himself on Bravo's Hot MIC podcast and rejected the idea that he and Dorit had been romantically involved. Kyle also dismissed the speculation, explaining that she believed the rumor partly came from people misinterpreting the way Mauricio and Dorit interacted publicly. So where does that leave the pregnancy claim? It leaves us with a major unanswered question. Where is the evidence? If someone claims Dorit was pregnant with Mauricio's child while married to PK, that's an extremely specific allegation. There should be a timeline. There should be documentation. There should be a credible source. And if the story revolves around leaked audio, there should be an authentic recording that can actually be examined. Without those things, the claim remains speculation. And that's important because a viral title can make an allegation sound like something that has already been proven. It hasn't. But the rumor received another boost when Dorit and Mauricio appeared together again on RHOBH. In season 15, Dorit actually sat down with Mauricio to discuss her situation with PK. That scene immediately generated attention because viewers already knew about the old rumors. But according to Dorit's later explanation, the meeting wasn't a secret romantic encounter. She said she met Mauricio because she hoped he could help communicate with PK, who is Mauricio's close friend. And that detail is important. Because the same friendship that originally helped create the rumor was now the reason they were sitting together again. Mauricio wasn't presented as Dorit's secret boyfriend. He was there as PK's friend. Dorit later said she regretted the conversation because she felt Mauricio wasn't as unbiased as she had hoped. That actually creates a fascinating twist. The internet was looking at the meeting and asking, are Dorit and Mauricio secretly together? But Dorit's own explanation was essentially, I was trying to deal with PK. Two completely different interpretations. And that's the danger of reality TV footage. A trailer can show a few seconds. Fans create a theory. Then the full episode reveals a completely different context. That's why the supposed pregnancy audio needs to be treated with the same skepticism. Until someone can establish where the recording came from and prove that it's authentic, there is no responsible way to call it confirmation. And there's another reason this rumor continues to attract attention. Kyle and Dorit aren't exactly in the same place they once were. Their friendship has experienced serious tension. At the same time, Mauricio and PK have remained close friends. That creates an unusual dynamic. The two husbands can still socialize while their former partners are dealing with their own complicated relationships. And that gives the internet plenty of material to speculate about. But speculation isn't evidence. And the documented story actually suggests something much more ordinary. Four people who were once extremely close became separated by changing marriages, friendships, and personal circumstances. That's messy enough without adding an unverified pregnancy. Still, there's one question that fans keep asking. Could the alleged audio finally change everything? If a genuine recording were ever produced, independently authenticated, and shown to contain credible information about Dorit and Mauricio, then yes, the conversation would become very different. But until that happens, the supposed audio is just another claim circulating around an old rumor. And right now, the strongest verified information points in the opposite direction. Dorit has denied the affair rumors. Mauricio has denied them. Kyle has dismissed them. And recent interactions between Dorit and Mauricio have been explained in the context of their existing friendship and PK's relationship with Mauricio. So the biggest mystery isn't: why did Dorit hide Mauricio's baby? There's no verified evidence establishing that happened. The better question is, why does the internet keep trying to turn a long-denied friendship into a secret romance? And that question takes us directly into the next part, because there was one particular moment that helped fuel the original rumor more than almost anything else. This is where the story gets really interesting. Because the Dorit-Mauricio rumor didn't appear completely out of nowhere. There was a particular moment that fans repeatedly pointed back to when trying to explain why the speculation became so intense. And it involved Dorit, Mauricio, PK, and Kyle together. After Dorit's home invasion, the four friends were shown interacting during an emotional moment. Some viewers became fixated on the way Dorit and Mauricio interacted, particularly a hug that fans interpreted as unusually affectionate. Online discussions later pointed to that scene as one of the moments that helped fuel the affair theory. But here's where things get complicated. A moment can look intimate to one viewer and completely ordinary to another. And that's exactly what happened. Some fans saw chemistry. Others saw two longtime friends comforting each other after a traumatic event. Those are two completely different interpretations of the same footage. And neither interpretation, by itself, proves an affair. Yet once the rumor started, fans began going back through older episodes. Suddenly, every interaction between Dorit and Mauricio was being re-examined. A look across a dinner table became evidence. A joke became flirting. A hug became proof. And eventually, even ordinary conversations were being analyzed frame by frame. That's how celebrity rumors can become almost impossible to kill. Once an audience has a theory, everything gets interpreted through that theory. But Dorit herself strongly rejected the speculation. In a 2023 interview with Entertainment Tonight, she called the Mauricio affair rumor ridiculous, and said it was particularly hurtful because Mauricio and Kyle were close friends of hers and PK's. And Mauricio later gave an equally strong denial. In December 2024, during Bravo's Hot MIC podcast, he addressed the speculation directly and dismissed the idea that he and Dorit had a thing. That's important because it means we are not dealing with a rumor that the people involved simply ignored. They actually addressed it. They denied it. And they continued to explain their relationship as friendship. But the internet wasn't satisfied. And then something else happened. Both marriages changed. Kyle and Mauricio separated in 2023. Dorit and PK announced their separation in 2024. Suddenly, fans revisited the old rumor with completely different eyes. People began asking, what if the rumors were true all along? That's when the old speculation became relevant again. And this is precisely where the pregnancy allegation enters the conversation. Because if people already believe there was a secret relationship, adding a pregnancy claim makes the story infinitely more dramatic. But there is still a huge problem. There is no credible evidence presented here establishing that Dorit was ever pregnant with Mauricio's child. And there is no verified leaked recording establishing that claim either. So the pregnancy allegation remains an unverified internet claim, not an established event. That distinction is critical. Because pregnancy isn't something we should casually speculate about when there is no evidence. And a supposed leaked recording shouldn't be treated as authentic simply because someone says it exists. The recording would need to be verified. Its origin would need to be established. The voices would need authentication. And the context would need to be examined. Without that, the phrase leaked audio is simply part of the headline. But here's why the rumor continues to attract attention. The 4 people involved have gone through an extraordinary amount of change. Dorit's friendship with Kyle became strained. Kyle and Mauricio separated. Dorit and PK separated. Mauricio and PK remained close. And Dorit eventually found herself interacting with Mauricio again. That combination creates the perfect environment for speculation. But there's an important piece of context that often gets lost. Dorit later explained that her meeting with Mauricio wasn't some secret romantic encounter. She said Kyle had encouraged the meeting, hoping Mauricio could help communicate with PK during the divorce-related tension. So the person who was supposedly at the center of the rumor was actually brought into the situation because of the complicated friendship between the 4 people. That's a very different story from Dorit secretly met Mauricio because they are having an affair. And it demonstrates why context matters. A short clip can create suspicion. The explanation can completely change the meaning. That's also why the supposed pregnancy audio needs to be treated carefully. If someone eventually produces a recording, viewers shouldn't immediately assume it's authentic. They should ask, where did it come from? Who recorded it? When was it recorded? Has it been independently verified? Does the full recording exist? And does it actually say what the headline claims? Because sometimes a leaked audio story turns out to be an edited clip with missing context. Sometimes it's an impersonation. Sometimes it's a joke. And sometimes it simply doesn't exist. Right now, we don't have enough evidence to know. But there is one thing we do know. The Mauricio-Dorit rumor has been publicly denied by both of them. And that makes the pregnancy claim even more extraordinary. A secret pregnancy would require substantially stronger evidence than a few suspicious-looking interactions. It would require something concrete. And until that appears, the responsible conclusion is that the claim remains unverified. Still, fans aren't going to stop talking. Because reality television thrives on unanswered questions. And this story has plenty of them. Was there ever anything more than friendship between Dorit and Mauricio? Why did fans interpret their interactions so differently? Why did the rumor survive repeated denials? And why did it resurface so aggressively after both couples entered new chapters of their lives? Those questions are far more interesting than simply repeating an unverified pregnancy claim. Because the real story may not be about a secret baby at all. It may be about how quickly public perception can turn friendship into suspicion, and suspicion into fact. And the next chapter gets even more complicated. Because Kyle Richards herself eventually had to address the Dorit-Mauricio rumors. And this is where the story gets even more complicated. Because eventually, Kyle Richards herself had to address the rumors surrounding Dorit and Mauricio. And her response was surprisingly direct. Kyle explained that the rumor had been circulating for years and called it stupid and ridiculous. She even suggested that the speculation may have started because of the way Dorit and Mauricio hugged after Dorit's burglary. Think about that for a second. A hug between longtime friends became the foundation for an internet theory about an alleged affair. Then that theory survived for years. Then Kyle and Mauricio separated. Then Dorit and PK separated. And suddenly, the old rumor was revived as if the relationship breakdowns somehow proved the original speculation. But they don't. A separation doesn't retroactively prove an affair. And a friendship between two people doesn't establish a secret romance. That's exactly why Kyle's comments are important. She wasn't just dismissing the rumor. She was explaining where she believed the rumor came from. And that gives us a very different picture. According to Kyle, people saw one interaction and created an entire narrative around it. The internet then kept repeating the narrative until it became part of the RHOBH conversation. But the people involved continued denying it. Dorit addressed the rumors multiple times. In 2022, she called the speculation ridiculous and said it was particularly upsetting because Mauricio, Kyle, PK, and she had been friends together. Then in 2023, Dorit again rejected the allegations, saying she wanted to shut them down because they weren't true. And Mauricio eventually addressed the rumors himself. During Bravo's Hot MIC podcast in December 2024, he described the idea that he and Dorit had a thing as completely untrue and ridiculous. So now we have three people directly connected to the situation giving essentially the same message. There was no romantic relationship. And that makes the new pregnancy allegation even more extraordinary. Because we are no longer dealing with one person denying a rumor. We are dealing with repeated denials from the people directly involved. Yet somehow, social media has now taken the old affair rumor and added another explosive claim. Dorit was supposedly pregnant with Mauricio's baby while married to PK. But where is the evidence? That's the question nobody can answer. There is no credible source establishing such a pregnancy. There is no verified recording establishing it. And there is no reliable documentation proving that Mauricio fathered a child with Dorit. So at this stage, the pregnancy story should be treated as unverified internet speculation. But there is something else happening that makes this story incredibly clickable. The relationships surrounding these four people have genuinely changed. Kyle and Mauricio separated after a long marriage. Dorit and PK have gone through their own separation and divorce drama. And the friendships between them have become more complicated. That creates the perfect environment for fans to revisit old rumors. But revisiting a rumor isn't the same as proving it. And that's exactly where the alleged leaked audio comes in. If someone claims there is audio proving the pregnancy allegation, the natural question is, where is it? Not a screenshot. Not someone saying they heard it. Not a social media post claiming it exists. The actual recording. And even then, authentication would matter. Who recorded it? When? Where? Was it edited? Is the voice really Dorit's? Is Mauricio actually mentioned? What is the full context? Without answers, leaked audio is simply a phrase designed to make the headline sound definitive. And we've seen how easily that can happen in reality television. A few seconds of footage become a theory. The theory becomes a rumor. The rumor becomes a headline. Then the headline becomes proof for another headline. And suddenly, nobody remembers where the original claim came from. That's why this story needs to be separated into two completely different categories. What is documented? Dorit and Mauricio were longtime friends. The affair rumor circulated publicly. Dorit denied it. Mauricio denied it. Kyle dismissed it. And Dorit later met Mauricio in connection with the complicated situation involving PK, with Kyle saying she encouraged the meeting because Mauricio might help them communicate during their divorce. What is not established? That Dorit was pregnant with Mauricio's baby. That a secret affair occurred. That authentic leaked audio proves the allegation. Those claims remain unverified. And honestly, that's what makes the story more interesting. Because the actual documented timeline is already dramatic enough. 4 close friends. 2 marriages. 2 separations. A friendship that fractured. Old rumors resurfacing. And a television audience trying to figure out what happened behind the scenes. Then, Just when it seemed like the story couldn't get any stranger, Dorit and Mauricio appeared together again. And that brings us to the next major question. Why would Dorit meet Mauricio at all if the rumors had already caused so much damage? Her explanation is fascinating, and it completely changes the context of that meeting. Because what looked like a secret meeting in the trailer apparently had a very different reason behind it. And once you hear that explanation, the entire rumor starts looking very different. And this is where the story takes another turn. Because when Dorit and Mauricio were seen together again, fans immediately started asking, why are they still meeting? After years of rumors, denials, and speculation, seeing the two of them together was always going to attract attention. But according to Dorit's explanation, the meeting had a very different purpose from what social media suggested. She said Kyle had actually encouraged her to speak with Mauricio because he is close to PK and might be able to help with the difficult situation surrounding their separation. That context is important. Because without it, a short clip can look incredibly suspicious. Two people whose names have been linked romantically for years are suddenly sitting together privately. For social media, that's instant fuel. But the actual explanation was far less mysterious. Dorit wasn't necessarily meeting Mauricio because of some secret relationship. She was trying to navigate a complicated situation involving PK, who happens to be Mauricio's longtime friend. And Kyle herself reportedly confirmed that she encouraged the conversation. So the supposed secret meeting doesn't prove an affair. But it does explain why the old rumors suddenly came roaring back. Because fans already had the theory. Then they saw the two together. And suddenly, the theory felt real to them. That's how confirmation bias works. Once people believe something, they tend to interpret new information as supporting their existing belief. But there's another detail that made the situation even more interesting. Kyle had previously addressed the rumor about Dorit and Mauricio and called it ridiculous. Mauricio also publicly rejected the idea that he and Dorit had ever had a romantic relationship. So imagine the situation. You've got Dorit denying it, Mauricio denying it, Kyle dismissing it. And yet the internet keeps resurrecting the same rumor. Then someone adds a new claim. There's leaked audio. And suddenly people are asking whether everyone has been lying. But where is that audio? That's the critical question. As of the information I could verify, I found no credible source confirming authentic leaked audio proving that Dorit was pregnant with Mauricio's baby. That means we cannot honestly present the pregnancy claim as a confirmed revelation. The documented story is about an old affair rumor, not a verified secret pregnancy. And that's a huge difference. Still, there is enough real-life tension surrounding these people to keep the speculation alive. Kyle and Dorit experienced a major friendship breakdown. Mauricio and Kyle separated. Dorit and PK separated. PK and Mauricio remained close. And then Dorit and Mauricio interacted again. From the outside, that's an incredibly complicated web. But complicated doesn't automatically mean romantic. Sometimes people remain connected because their friendships overlap. Sometimes people communicate because their families are connected. And sometimes people simply know each other for years. That's the part social media tends to forget. But there is another layer here that fans cannot ignore. Kyle herself reportedly resurfaced an old image showing Dorit being very affectionate with Mauricio. People reported that the image came from a scene where Mauricio was embracing PK, and Dorit approached and kissed Mauricio's shoulder. That moment became part of the larger discussion. And honestly, it's easy to understand why viewers noticed it. The interaction was unusual enough to become a talking point. But even an awkward or overly affectionate moment doesn't establish that two people had an affair. That's where the speculation crosses into assumption. And the pregnancy allegation goes even further. To move from "they looked close" to "they had an affair," and then to "Dorit was pregnant with Mauricio's baby," requires multiple enormous leaps. Each step would require evidence. And right now, that evidence hasn't been established. So if you're watching this story unfold, keep that distinction in mind. The rumor is real. The pregnancy claim is not verified. And the supposed leaked audio has not been authenticated based on the information available. That's the honest version of the story. But there's still one major question left. If the affair rumors are completely false, why did they become such a persistent problem for Dorit? And why did Kyle become so frustrated by them? Part of the answer may be the way reality television works. People don't just watch the cast. They analyze them. They examine body language. They look at who sits beside whom. They notice who hugs whom. They remember old episodes. And then they create theories. Sometimes those theories are right. Sometimes they are completely wrong. And once a theory becomes popular enough, even a denial can become part of the conspiracy. That's exactly what happened here. Dorit denied the rumors. Fans said she was covering. Mauricio denied them. Fans said he was protecting his friend. Kyle denied them. Fans said she knew more than she was admitting. At that point, there was almost no possible answer that would satisfy everyone. And that's why this story has lasted so long. Not because there is verified evidence of a secret pregnancy, but because the question itself has become part of the entertainment. And now the biggest question isn't whether fans believe the rumor. It's whether Dorit and Mauricio will ever be able to completely escape it. Because every future interaction can revive it. Every photograph can revive it. Every reunion can revive it. And every new season can bring the speculation back. But unless authentic evidence emerges, the pregnancy claim remains just that. A claim. And if that alleged audio ever does surface, the first thing people should ask isn't, what does it reveal? It should be, is it real? Because in celebrity gossip, authentication can be more important than the headline itself. And that's exactly where this story could take its final, and most explosive, turn. At this point, the rumor has become bigger than the original story. What began as speculation about Dorit and Mauricio has now evolved online into claims about a supposed secret pregnancy and allegedly leaked audio. But after looking at the available reporting, there is still no credible evidence confirming that Dorit was pregnant with Mauricio's child. Mauricio has publicly dismissed the romance rumor, calling it stupid, while Dorit has also repeatedly rejected the speculation. And that brings us to the most important question. What would actually prove a claim this serious? Not a TikTok. Not an anonymous post. Not a screenshot saying, "Insider confirms." And definitely not a thumbnail. If someone claims there is leaked audio, the first thing that should happen is authentication. Who recorded it? When was it recorded? Is the full recording available? Has anyone independently verified the voices? Could the audio have been edited? Without those answers, calling it proof would be premature. The same applies to the pregnancy allegation. A claim that Dorit secretly carried Mauricio's baby while married to PK would require substantially more than suspicious body language or old photographs. And right now, that evidence hasn't been established. What is documented is that the Dorit-Mauricio rumor has existed for years. Dorit publicly pushed back against it. Mauricio pushed back against it. And Kyle has also discussed the rumor, explaining that she believed the speculation was ridiculous. Interestingly, Kyle later resurfaced the exact moment that helped fuel the rumor, a 2022 scene where Mauricio was embracing PK, and Dorit approached and kissed Mauricio's shoulder. That moment became part of the online speculation about their relationship. But even that doesn't prove an affair. It proves something much simpler. Fans saw a moment and interpreted it differently. And once the interpretation became popular, the rumor became almost impossible to erase. That's why the alleged pregnancy claim needs to be handled differently from ordinary reality TV gossip. It's one thing to say, fans are questioning their relationship. It's another thing to say, Dorit secretly had Mauricio's baby. The second statement requires evidence. And without that evidence, it's an allegation, not a fact. So where does that leave us? The documented story is already dramatic. Dorit and PK's relationship changed. Kyle and Mauricio's relationship changed. The friendships between the four became complicated. Dorit and Kyle eventually experienced serious tension. And Mauricio and Dorit continued to face questions about a rumor they have both denied. But the supposed secret pregnancy remains unverified. And the alleged leaked audio hasn't been established as authentic. That doesn't mean the internet will stop talking. Quite the opposite. Because now fans are watching every interaction, every interview, every reunion, every photograph, every comment. And if Dorit and Mauricio ever appear together again, you can almost guarantee that someone will revive the rumor. But perhaps the biggest lesson here is this. A rumor can survive for years without ever becoming true. Repeated often enough, it can start feeling like established history. But repetition isn't evidence. And until genuine documentation or authenticated audio emerges, the pregnancy claim should remain exactly where it belongs. In the category of unverified celebrity gossip. So now the question goes to you. Do you believe there was ever something more between Dorit and Mauricio? Or do you think fans simply took a long-time friendship and turned it into one of RHOBH's biggest rumors? Because after years of speculation, one thing is certain. The rumor may be impossible to kill, but that doesn't make it proven. After everything we've uncovered, the biggest question remains. Was there ever something more between Dorit and Mauricio, or did the internet turn a close friendship into one of the biggest RHOBH rumors ever? The alleged pregnancy claim and supposed leaked audio remain unverified, so there's no solid basis to present them as confirmed facts. But the real drama is still unfolding. Dorit and Mauricio have had to deal with years of speculation, their friendships have changed, and now their complicated connections to Kyle and PK continue creating headlines. So I want to hear from you. Fire, do you believe the old Dorit-Mauricio rumors? Fire, do you think the alleged leaked audio is real, or just another internet rumor? Fire, and do you think Dorit and Mauricio should finally address the speculation once and for all? Drop your opinion in the comments. If you enjoyed this Real Housewives of Beverly Hills breakdown, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next shocking update. And remember, in Beverly Hills, what happens behind closed doors can become tomorrow's biggest headline, but a rumor isn't proof. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.